everybody. We're going to get this meeting started. It's good to see everybody here. I think that we know why everybody's here. We're certainly going to have that discussion and hopefully answer everybody's questions. But if we could, with every public meeting, we'll start with the pledge to the flag. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ken Hassett. I'm the town council and I'm the liaison to the Recreation Commission. At this point, I'd like to introduce the chairwoman of the Board of the Recreation Commission, Boards Commissions, Sherry Doherty.
Hi, I'd like to officially call this meeting to order. It's 7:07. And just quickly turn it over to Tara Burke, our Recreation Director, to move things along.
Hello, I think introductions are important. First of all, as you have met, Ken, liaison, Sherry, chair. I'm Tara, the Recreation Director. Jeff Booz, Commission, member of the Commission. Christina Carr, member of the Commission. Rita Sorge, member of the Commission. And I'd like everybody to welcome Bree at last. She's here for
Gentle, it's my first time.
Okay, so I think, did everybody get an agenda? Everyone who wants one? We might be a little short, but we would hope to be willing to share. And first on the agenda is Farmers Market. I'm going to keep it open. There's a list of a few things we can do, but I think discussion will start. And before I finish with introductions, I'd just like to mention our town supervisor, Jean Walsh. I think everyone knows, Supervisor Walsh, and board member Bob Gallagher, and we also have board member Bob Ryan. Anyone else that's a
Board member?
Okay, welcome and thank you for coming. Okay, so to be honest, I think what we should do is start with the discussion as to why we're all here. Some information came down hard and fast about some compliance and regulations and about having a farmer's market here. And what we all want to understand, I know, is why that is different from any other recreation entity as far as the definition goes from the state and federal manual. So I'd like to turn it over, if I may, to any one of the board members who could help us understand. Supervisor Walsh.
Well, first of all, I'd like to just explain the series of events that kind of led up to this. As many of you might not know, this park has not been in compliance for more than at least 12 years. Back when Phil Turping was supervisor, he made some attempts to bring the park into compliance with what they call a land acquisition, basically trading land to deal with some compliance issues. That did not work out. It was not accepted. But to just go through the process is basically for the last 12 years, the effort that was made by the past supervisors were not successful and we were not in compliance. So we knew that we were ready to start a new park down by the Creek Box property and thought that maybe this would be a way to bring our park into compliance. When you want funding for the park, when you apply to Parks and Recreation, which we did last year and again this year for our pool, you have to be in compliance in order to be able to accept or be awarded that money. The town of Rosendale still has a $50,000 grant that was awarded to them back before this building was even built and never was able to receive one because of that non-compliance. So they're like, are you ready for your $50,000? I'm like, I'll take it. We're going to get compliance. And that means we also have to be in compliance if we're going to get awarded any other monies for the park. Pool being number one, and as Tara and the Rec Commission can tell you, there's some other things on the park that are starting to fail off. Tennis courts are starting to go, and I think there's work that needs to be done on the basketball court. So, you know, as time goes on, we're going to want to be able to get those funding for those things, and we have to be in compliance. So I said to the person who was head of Parks and Recreation, we're dealing with two different people. One who helps process the grant and is basically in charge of the Palisades Parks and conversations with this person, but there's a person who's kind of the lead at the state level, and I invited him to come down to look at the park that we'd like to do for a trans into the town, he was not a happy person with Rosendale because Rosendale had not been in compliance for a very, very long time. And when you look at the compliance, people think it's, oh, just trade the land, this is it. You know, it's a long, expensive process that you may not be successful at. And that's been our history, and that's been the proof of that is in the fact that it hasn't happened yet. So I said, well, he came in, you could see, Tara and I sat down with him in my office, and he was not happy. He was very, very, clear that Rosendale has not been something that, hasn't worked with the state. We're not happy about it. So I said, well, look, a lot has happened recently. Let me take you to all our parks. I want to show you how much and how things have improved in Rosendale, the Parks Department, and how much recreation is important to the community. I said, recently we opened up the rail trail. The trestle opened. That was done by the Walker Valley Land Trust. And at that time, the Williams Lake hadn't opened their portion, but I let him know that that was in the plan and that the town had just done a shared services swap with the Binningwater Dam property in conjunction with the other park that we rent lease from Walker Valley Land Trust to be able to share parking. And we're in the process of working out a contract with Walker Valley Land Trust, so the town will not pay any funds for parking or for the park by offering them the Binningwater land for parking for the trails. And so that was basically a shared service swap contract that we're still working on. But we've let it start, and they've been open to us doing that, and we believe that contract will be signed soon. So I showed him that area, and he was quite impressed that we were working to improve our parks. But first I took him down to the Willow Kiln Park, and I said, look, here's Willow Kiln Park. There was a nice family having a picnic, and it was a beautiful day. And I said, next to this park is another 170 acres that the town that the residents get to use and visitors get to use because Walker Valley Land Trust, along with the trestle, bought this 170 acres, which they're open to park. So I said, oh well, that's nice. He's taking his pictures, and I could see that he was starting to open up a little bit at that point. So then we took him up to the Binningwater Dam property, and I said, we're trying to decommission the dam, and he said, we know about the dam, and we're concerned about it, and we're glad, that you're working on this, because as you're driving up the road, these homes down here are at risk. And it was, at that time, he let me know that property had been turned down as an exchange for property, and probably part of it was because the dam was a risk, and they didn't want to be part of that. So he said, but, as a parking lot, and if you're decommissioning, it might be a possibility for exchange, but I'll have to see. He just was letting us know that as a accessory use, it might work. So I said, well, let's go to the trestle, and you want to see exactly what we're doing here. And I showed him how the town highway department had done the access to the trail, and all the work that was done to get access to the trestle was done by the town. So he was, how could you not be impressed by the view from the trestle? So then I said, okay, let me take you down to the park, to recreation center, where the center of our recreation is. And we pulled in the driveway and parking lot, and there was a ball game going on, and there were kids playing in the pavilion, there were kids playing by the youth center, and of course right in the center is this ugly broken down pool that's a big hole in the ground. And I said, well, before we do anything else, I think it's important for you to take a look at our pool. We've applied last year, and we're applying again, and he was very aware of our pool. And Tara and I brought him in the pool, and we got to look at, the serious infrastructure failure of the pool. And, he agreed that we need help. We made a case, as we did during grant processing, how serious a problem we had with this pool, and that, the town of Rosendale, it would be a shame if we had bought this park with whatever funds came from, the state and the federal government, and then we were not able to use this park because the infrastructure continues to fail and we're not able to rebuild it. So, the one thing that they were concerned about is that the building was bigger than the original footprint of the last building. So we brought him inside. I said, I'd like you to see what we do here. And I let him know that we were in the process of moving our meetings to the new location at the Rosendale School, which was one of the reasons that we were not in compliance. So he was happy to see that and hear that, and was impressed with, the seniors get to come here, the youth is here, it's a combination of young and old, everybody's used to the park. We sat down in Tara's office because he asked us for a schedule for the last 6 months of who uses the park and who's scheduled to be here, and how this park has been used, and what kind of recreation is going on. While he was sitting there, he asked for a T-shirt we had the Save the Pool T-shirt, and he made it pretty clear that he was going to fight for us to get our funding. There's no guarantees. It's not up to one person. It still has to go to the grant application through the process. There's 3 different divisions that look at that process. But it helps to have someone who's, high up in state recreation to support the grant application. And he let us know that he was going to take that T-shirt back to the parks and show them the T-shirt and explain what was going on, what he saw, and that he supported our pool grant. In fact, he even said it was like childhood. He used to see the kids playing in the yard out here, and they're not able to swim in the pool, and he wanted to be supportive of that. Not too long after that, we took him. Finally, we ended up going down to Creek Lots. I was like, this is the reason you came here. And he said, well, I want you to hold off because I think I have another way to make this work. I think we can turn the compliance issue around by saying that the things that are on the park, they're non-compliance or accessory use, which is a big, big step to not have to do that transfer of land. So we want to get our park up in compliance, and we have no choice because they basically said, when they got the list, we got a letter, you cannot have a farmer's market in the park because it's not an allowed use. This is dictated not by state, but by federally funded grants. So the farmer's market was never allowed legally to be here. We've always allowed it. I think it was a step up that people felt. And it's unfortunate that there's been so much negative press in the paper and on Facebook because this board and the town board supports the farmer's market. We don't want to see the farmer's market fail, but we have an obligation to be in compliance with the state and federal governments. And that's really what it comes down to. And I'm disappointed that it's become such a negative attack because there was never any intention to do anything to harm the farmer's market. I have been in contact with Billy and let him know that I was reaching out to other private and public options to talk to people, where else could the farmer's market move to? And I was planning on presenting that tonight before this blew up. And I want people to understand that this was not a choice by the town board. It wasn't a choice by the rec commission. It was a choice by the government above us. And again, I got a call today from Parks and Recreation. They're not happy that this has turned into a big blow up because now there's too much focus on it. And maybe we would have been able, because I had asked them, I said, look, I'm not going to kick them out. We need to work with them and we need to make this happen. It would be a smooth transition. And I said, what about letting them function here until we can find where they can go? And they were okay with that as a verbal, we have no problem with that. And basically they were saying, try to work it out. But you know what, today, after all this stuff going on in the newspaper and on Facebook, I've gotten the word that, we are not allowed to make any decisions about the winter market until they hear from us again. So unfortunately, that's the result of the negative campaign, and I'm sorry to see that happen. This is up to the board because I'm speaker. So I will say again that I have some ideas and options that I'd like to present to the rec commission and to the farmers market that I hope they will consider. I think Littleton Park is an option. I know some of the farmers market people were not happy with that option. I think that you're well established now. It might work for you because people know that they want to come to the farmers market. We want to see the farmers market continue. There may be room at the Creek Lots property, even if we do an exchange of property. We're forced to do that. We still may have a piece of that that we keep out of that, be able to do something for that. But unfortunately, I've reached out to some of the private entities, but I left that to Billy. I made the contact for him, and he's been working on that. And I didn't want to bring anything out in the public until I knew whether the other entities we're happy with that option, and I think Billy was working on that. And, so all I can say is the town could possibly offer Willow Kiln Park, possibly the Creek Locks property as an option. But, it was pretty clear with the conversation. I thought we'd have some leeway, but as of now, it was pretty clear when I got a call from state today that farmers market is not going to be allowed to continue until after October at this point. But I asked if they could continue to the end of October, which I believe is the typical summer market. Is that right? And I'm waiting to hear whether the winter market would be allowed until you find a new location. So that's where I'm at right now.
Shari, may I ask a question? Well, you're the chair, so I have to address you. And I'd like to ask, you.
I'm here to address
Jane and
your
Tara.
commission. You can ask me a question.
I know we're really focusing on the farmer's market at the beginning of this meeting, but, I mean, my overarching concern right now at this moment is the farmer's market, but how does this affect every other thing that we do?
It doesn't affect anything else that you're doing.
So we can do rentals for parties,
Absolutely.
and those things are okay.
Those are allowed uses, okay? It's allowed uses. Those are considered recreation. The farmer's market is considered a profit. People are, this is the way they look at it, okay? You're operating a business. It's not, it's not private property. It's publicly funded property. So when you operate a business, you're supporting a business in a public property. It's not beneficial to the taxpayers. That's the way they look at it. You're taking taxpayers' money and you're supporting other businesses. And
So
that's,
the
and
beekeepers.
I don't have anything to say about this. You can argue all you want about it, and you can say, what about this or what about that? That is what the state and the federal government have said about this.
I'm not.
Can I just say something before?
Sure.
When there's one person talking, I would like for them to finish their point without anybody else cutting in, so they can finish their point, and when it's time, then we'll address everyone else. I mean, no disrespect to anybody, especially you, Ken, when I said we're not taking any comments right now, okay? Okay, good.
So things like the Beekeepers Association.
Right now, they've been given a list of everything that we have going on here, and that's the only thing that they flagged. That's the only
Really?
thing that they've
Okay.
talked
All
about.
right, that's
Now,
what
I
was
don't think
looking
it's
to
fair. This is
understand.
my concern. I mean, the way it's been sounding, and I hope this is not the case, that people are upset because the farmer's market is, it's not fair to try to shut down everybody that uses this park, because those are allowed uses, and that's just the way it is, especially if somebody's doing an event that's a fundraising event for, to benefit something or to benefit the town or whatever. Those are allowed uses, and Tara's had that discussion with them, and,
I tried to get my head around the document, and apparently we can do archaeological interpretation if we'd like. And there's like a lot of odd things we can do, but I couldn't really get a really. I don't speak federalese as well as you probably do.
Rita,
and-
that's the reason that you make the phone call, and I say to the person that's in charge, will you work with us? Can we do this? I see what it says in writing. I want to be clear that this is the situation. And I get a confirmation, and that's happened both with Tara and myself, that we got a confirmation that this is what's allowed and this is what isn't. And unfortunately, farmer's market is what got flagged. And, I don't think it's in anyone's interest to fight this, because this is not going to be beneficial to town of Rosendale. So,
I just wanted to add that if anyone's interested in seeing minutes, there's a nice history. Tara was able to help create a binder for the minutes that have been, all the discussions with the farmers market since 2006, since its inception, and it could be useful if anyone has any interest or questions, and I believe it's at Town Hall, so to walk in when they're open and just ask for meeting minutes when they're there, it might help clarify some stuff for you guys.
I just want to say one more time that, I can't help but be a little bit offended. I am a person, I still have a person, and, I think that the farmer's market is a great organization, but I can't stand the fact that, town board has been, finger pointing is just not acceptable. It's just not the way, that's not the way we work out a problem. And I think we would have gotten a little farther with the state if we hadn't been, actively fighting
questions from
I
the
think anyone here
floor,
is
the
taking
chair?
questions, right? I think anyone.
Okay, so it just seems like if one of us, Jeff, maybe, if one of us sort of acknowledges people.
I'd like, if it's all right, can I acknowledge Ken? Because he was like the
Yes,
first
sir.
one who got his hand.
Yeah, I mean, I have a question about compliance. It said in the document that there was, when you were moving from one piece of property to another, that was a conversion. And the conversion of this particular rec center needed to be substituted with another piece of property. But what it seems to me what the farmer's market is a temporary non-conforming use of the space. It says you can have temporary non-conforming uses of the space of less than 6 months per year. The farmer's market is only around for 5 hours once a week, which is 20 weeks. It seems to me that's not a conversion, and it's within compliance. Page 114 of the PDF, proposals for temporary non-conforming uses, that is temporary non-recreation activities of less than a 6-month duration. It seems to me that we're relying upon this one man to determine what is or is not allowed. Is it possible that the town that says that it wants a farmer's market could possibly bring this to a turn?
I don't think there's another town that has farmers market on recreation property. I think if it was going through a land conversion. And I think basically we asked for clarification and definitions and permittable uses and were answered. That would be like saying we're not accepting the translation of their own documents. And it's not one person. He's the representative of the funding stream. So I'm not sure that we'd even be in a position to try to finagle it.
Is it possible that we can get them?
I think Jeannie would have to answer that, understanding that we
I want to
don't.
make sure, I want to just clarify something that Ken said, because there's a little confusion. The conversion issue is not the same as the compliance issue. The conversion issue was for other non-compliance issues, not for the farmer's market. The farmer's market was flagged because we were addressing the conversion issue. That's the reason. It's not about the conversion of the farmer's market. They basically said when you could have a one-day event, that's where you have the ability to have a, exception, like we were talking about, like a blue flag. But they do not consider a weekly use. And, these questions were asked, and they do not consider a weekly use of the farmer's market a one-off event. That's not the same thing.
Is that Bob's question?
I just want to say something that, well, number one, nobody knows better when somebody has a knee-jerk reaction on an attack without doing their homework. I think I probably know better than anybody in this room. With that being said, I went down, my wife and I, to the farmer's market this weekend, and I spoke with Anna, and I talked with Ken a little bit, and Billy. And I'm torn. I think the farmer's market is fantastic. I like the fact that it's grown. And it tears me up, and I'm sure it tears up the rest of the board members and the supervisor, that this has happened. But, like my father used to say, you get more bees with honey than you do with sugar. And just to clarify something that the supervisor said, this is out of our hands because it's a federal government issue. So anything we talk about tonight, we're not going to have answers for it. It needs to be addressed to the government. Now, just for future reference, so you know, and I know better than anybody, that anything that goes on Facebook, Twitter, and this and that, it's amazing. It's like cancer. It gets to people that you don't think it's going to get to. And I want to clarify the fact that the supervisor was trying to work a deal to smooth the waters here. And when that all occurred, as a matter of fact, I didn't hear about it until Sunday night after the farmer's market. Then I sat down and started reading things. Actually, there's one gentleman that I would think would be here tonight that's not here, and he posted some inaccurate information. I want the farmer's market also really bad, as much as everybody here, but it seems like we put a knife in our own backs. So any questions that lead to what we can do, what we can't do, what's allowable, what's not. It really needs to be addressed to the Palisades Commission and not the town board or the town, because it's way above our heads. It's at a federal government level. And I understand you have a lot of questions in that, but that's where you really need to direct it to get the proper and right answers. Because I couldn't understand 7 years the farmer's market's been down here, then all of a sudden now we got to close the door, and then finding out all the history these past few days. It's a crying shame, because it does bring a lot of unity, and I read that sign up there that's in my face, unite, don't fight, and it tears me up to see that they have to relocate. Believe me, it does. There's no reason why they have to. It gives us that hometown feeling having that farmer's market here, and now it's got to come to an end. So that's all I want to say.
Jen?
A few different points. One, I'm happy to, just as a citizen and work with other citizens to develop, I think, what is a very clear-cut case and just develop a written argument for the Palisades Commission about the importance of the farmers market as a community institution. And, I mean, it's one of our most important community institutions, and it is recreation. I mean, it's social. I bring my kids, and they play on the playground. That's a day that we have, like, a lot of kids on the playground. It really helps, I think, bring uses to our recreation center, and we have we do have community institutions, but, I mean, we've lost our school, and this is something that's really important. And so maybe one thing we can do is take our case as citizens, as residents, directly to the commission. Two other questions, comments I have is, I know the town rents this space to Weight Watchers, which is for profit, so is that also at risk? Lastly, is a conversion possible? I mean, can this be a temporary relocation? And
No, I'm going to say no right away, because that's asking for a conversion of property for something that is basically not a permanent structure. That's not going to happen. It's not acceptable. You can't expect a cutout of a piece of this property to do a swap to something that's not permanent as part of the park. And that becomes a permanent thing forever and ever once you do that, for something that we have no guarantee of what the future of the farmer's market is. And unless you have a structure here that you're talking about, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
well, I guess my question about that was not just the farmers market, but also for our community center. I'm not.
I just finished saying that we're working towards an accessory use for that now. So there's no reason to go through the expense of the conversion if they allow that. And I want to be very careful about something. I don't want the gentleman that I finally got to work with us in the Parks Commission, in the Parks and Recreation, are now looking at Rosendale as someone that is a town that wants to improve their recreation facilities to the town that is going to fight everything that they tell us we have to do so that we can't get the things that we need. Okay, so let's be careful of that. So you can make a case, but I think what you're going to do is you're going to alienate them at a time when I need to know that we're going to get other things for this park. So I think you have to be careful of that.
And Jen, maybe, I mean, if you do come up with something like that, if it can be directed towards us beforehand, and maybe we could.
Sorry. No, I'm sorry for talking into it.
What's that?
I'm sorry for talking.
Jeff, if I could just jump in, you
Yeah,
made a suggestion
of
to
course.
Jen to move forward on her suggestion to run it by the commission. My knee-jerk reaction, based on what the supervisor's been trying to explain here all night, is that the town needs to be separate from that. I mean, if there's going to be a grassroots citizen action appealing to the state with regard to this, it should be exactly that. And hearing what the supervisor was saying, to be sponsored by the town is going to put us in jeopardy for future cooperation grants with the Office of Park and Rec. So, grassroots effort, nobody can stop that. That's the way democracy works, and that's the way things get changed. But you have to understand that as town officials, we're tied to this agreement. We have an obligation and a duty to uphold the agreement. Unfortunately, we've known known we've been out of compliance for many years, and we're trying to work toward compliance. At the same time, balancing, for instance, the farmer's market, knowing that it's not compliance, but it's something that we need to have. Me personally, it's tearing me up. The farmer's market is one of the biggest benefits or benefactors that we have at the food pantry. If anybody doesn't know, I sit on the board of directors of the food pantry. And we're finally to the point where we're a viable food pantry and we can feed the people who need it. And thanks in large part to the vendors that you have at the farmer's market. So this is tearing me up. So, I know there's a lot of people that aren't going to accept that we have to go this route, and you're certainly free to try to get the law changed. But in the meantime, as town officials, we're obligated to uphold it by virtue of our oath. And it sucks, but we have to move forward. So, we have a great group of people here tonight that I think if the energy in this room can be redirected rather than finger pointing and putting blame and saying we don't like the way it is, let's work toward a solution that's going to keep this farmer's market in this town. If the alternative is, it's not going to have a place to go. We need to put our heads together and find out where. That's my suggestion, and I won't say anything more because this meeting.
Sorry.
Thank you
I
for the
thought
time.
you wound up. I'm sorry.
And I'd also like to say in thinking of that, and coming up with these ideas that, it may start shutting down other things that we do on this property and having a bigger finger pointed at us on other things that we do. And obviously, this was one of the things, and even our meetings here and everything else, for 7 years, we've only tried to help, and every time, the farmer's market would like something, we have open doors, and, I'd like our town, and I know our town is that place that, we come together and have this beautiful place that things happen. Towns all around, I think, look at us as an example of people coming together, volunteers especially, and making things happen. So I think, the lighter of the footstep that we have in doing, these, having these ideas, and I understand that. I'm not dismissing your idea at all, but I think that it's really gonna, especially with the media and everything else, that it will start, putting a finger on Rosendale as people that are divided and not coming together and trying to really work together.
Can I throw something in? Gina, I see you there. This risk of sounding like something out of an old Mickey Rooney movie. I mean, is there any chance we could invite this gentleman down
I'm not doing it.
to the farmer's market or the farmer's market outside the town, so that, as Ken said, it's not, could invite him down to see all the educational benefits and ask about that 6-month thing? I mean, seriously, maybe if he saw it, he'd like it, just the way he
gotta
liked what
understand
you were
something.
showing
He's a
him.
state official. This is a federal law that gives money to state-funded. It's a federal law, okay, that is mandated to the state, and they are running the program, but it's a state-funded park. So we have state and federal money that was given to this town.
Yes.
Built this park. And it's the federal government that mandates that part of the rules. So the state probably would have been a little more flexible. The federal government is not.
And
Sometimes things can be rebranded.
I hear you. Let me
You know?
just jump in there to expound on what Jean just said. She's talking about the state representative, and that's very important, but there's also a federal component. And if I may just read a portion of the letter that came from the federal representative. My take is that the farmer's market is considered an exhibit facility and therefore isn't an eligible activity in a federally funded park. I was told that the park in Ithaca had to go through that, but there she writes, that's the federal representative. So we have both entities saying it's a non-compliant activity. So again, it stinks. I wish it could change, but I don't know that we're going to be successful in spending our efforts trying to get the federal government and the state government to change a document that's been in place for, and a document, quite honestly, that covers everybody else in the state. Everybody else is compliant. Everybody who has a piece of property in this state, similar to ours, is compliant. For us to get the reputation that Rosendale just isn't going to be compliant because they want what they want when they want, we're going to probably pay on the other end, unfortunately, as far as not being eligible for funding moving forward.
And let's not forget that the town, the town is supportive. I mean, when you guys didn't have a place to plug things in, and I said to Tara, let's let them use the snack shack as their space, because we're not using it. Every time something came up with the farmer's market wanted the town to try to comply. And the town is still trying to help. We do have 2 other locations that belong to the town that we're offering for operation. We're not trying to shut you down. We're just saying that it can't happen here. So if you wanted to go to Willow Film Park, I've already called Willow Valley Land Trust. They've agreed that it's okay with them. And I think we could probably work something out at Creek Locks. I think that maybe that's a little out of the way, but, down on Main Street, that's a business district. We could be supportive on both ends, start to be something that people start to, get used to that. It's just a different place to go. They'll adjust and they'll still come. And I think we were well established now. You could go to another location in town and still be a farmer's market that people know that's where you are and they're going to go. Put the right signage up, have a campaign for the move, and I think it's still going to be, a success there.
And of course, there's one area in town that we haven't addressed, and you and I have spoken about it briefly. But we are going to be moving to the new Rosendale, the old Rosendale School, the new town hall.
I offered that too, but I was told it was too far out of the way. I mean,
It's something, again, if we're gonna look to solve the problem, rather than fingers and assess blame,
Well,
we need to throw all opportunities on the table and discuss them and see if they're viable. I think to Gene's point that, the farmer's market is so successful that I think no matter where you go in town, you're going to have that group that's going to follow it. Now, of course, visibility on 32 is important because you're going to get your people that might go, wow, what's that? Let's stop. So, some of the other options aren't going to have, that much of an enticement, but we have to do something. You cannot lose the market.
Any questions?
I don't know your name, if you could just say your name, it would be nice.
I would just like to say a couple of things, but one of which is, have any of you been to our tax dollar supported state and national parks? Any of you ever visit a state park, federal park? Do you see vendors there selling things made in China? Do you see food vendors there? I mean, for the federal and state parks sell goods. They have vendors, they sell food, they sell junk. That's a bogus thing for them to tell us that the farmer's market is not an appropriate use for. And I'm kind of disappointed that we aren't speaking to that and saying, wait a minute, if federal and state parks are doing this, then local parks can do this too, especially when it's a healthy, locally enriching market that supports our economy, supports our neighbors who are growers, supports our craftspeople. And I think that argument could be made as a valid reason for them to consider a variance on this use. Every state and federal park sells stuff. That's bogus.
If you could just say your name too, it'd be nice, just so we have it with your face.
I'm sorry.
If everyone just could say their name
Oh,
too, because
Nancy Gill.
I don't know some people.
Okay,
I
Nancy Gill.
appreciate
I
it,
love
thank you.
this. First of all, my concern that I'm a supporter. I have seen for years how hard the people work for the farmers market, not for profit, but to offer food that's healthy and nutritious that will help people do recreation and be fitter. The hours that these small core of people have done is beyond belief and a real benefit. My concern is that when I've been reading about Facebook, it's not necessarily like, oh, well, the town wants to shut us down. And I'm sorry that you feel like it's a personal attack. It's like, how can we work together? Why is this happening rather than the town doesn't want it? And I know that you said that, you gave them the snack shack, but I think that the farmer's market pays rent for that. You're not
So
just,
they pay the utility.
they pay.
When you're
It's
done,
not
I would
yeah.
like to talk to the fee issue.
Right, I mean, but they're not, it's not like the town is giving it out to them and they're making a profit off of it. They're paying fees to help sustain being public citizens and questioning the use
No,
of the land
that's not what I
is
said.
causing a problem, and you're saying, well, you can do it, but don't get the town involved. So
No.
maybe I'm confused.
No, what I said was, I'm not willing to support the town, compiling information to go forward, because I think it'll put us at risk. Just exactly what Ken said, is that we have to stay in compliance, okay? We have an obligation to stay in compliance. This is what we've been working towards. But, he suggested that the grassroots option, that's obviously an option, if you guys want to.
But you said all this, I'm sorry, you mentioned, writing on Facebook is like a cancer and causes a problem. And that's grassroots, writing and expressing opinion.
Yeah.
If you express the truth instead of just pointing the finger and saying things that aren't true, that's a big difference.
Ma'am, if I can just point out, and there's no reason to spend a lot of time on it, but
Okay.
there was one Facebook entry addressing this issue, which made an accusation that the reason this is happening is because certain town officials didn't get their palms greased. Yeah,
And they
yeah,
never
that was on there. If
replied.
anybody in the room wrote it, if you want to expound on that, stand up and explain yourself.
Some
But if
jerk
not-
wrote in the Freeman
I
today
know,
about
but
tree
that's
cover.
the silly stuff that goes on.
There are jerks
Yep,
that are gonna write public opinion,
no doubt.
and we can't stop them.
No.
I mean, there's just uninformed people that are gonna write things that we can't stop. But a lot of the interest is, we would like the town, this is a benefit for the town, and maybe coming tonight and hearing why we can't do it, but it's important, people have questions, why is this happening, and that's why they're coming to find out.
Absolutely.
I would
But
just like to
being able
answer
to
that.
talk about it,
This
should
is
be
on
a
the agenda
open-
tonight
It is true.
before all that happens, so that it could be discussed.
We don't normally have the open forum. It's not normally how the rec commission works. We have people who come on the agenda and come and chat. Anyone's welcome to, or just sit in. But my fear would be that the conversation would degrade to an area that there is support either from the town or from the rec commission. And the fee issue is that I'm the only one here, I believe, who was here when the farmers market began the first year. We're really excited about it. And we said, how about this? Let's give you 2 years to get off the ground and we won't charge any fees. So we did that. It's years later, we never were able to charge the fees. We had then an indoor market and then came to an agreement. Farmers market is the only usage on the property that the Recreation Commission made an exception to our fee waiver. We have a national fee waiver policy. The farmers market was the only exception we made. And it was that we had to ask for things, and we had really good conversations for years and years. Really nice to have them come and sit down. I mean, it was always the Mutual Admiration Society. It was a really, really nice thing going on. Of course, there was support. I think that you're being told our hands are tied. That there was, honestly, the fees were really meant for the snack shack to pay for the water and electric.
But they're
And if
paying.
somebody, but that's new, by the
But
way.
they're
It's
paying,
just-
right?
How new is that?
This year.
This year.
It's just
It's been
this
free.
year.
It's been free.
So
to
it's
the
been
farmers
free.
market.
So it's always been, the usage has been free, but we've discussed then paying for the indoor usage. And just honestly being as patient and I think as respectful as possible, and it's been a really, really nice relationship. This just went down very, very fast. Our hands are tied. We're not even in a position of making a decision. The town board is not in a position of making a decision. We're being told comply. We could lose $500,000 grant for the pool. And our promises to the community in its entirety, every volunteer sitting here comes here with the same spirit and the same mission, which is to care and love for this community. It's like custody battle over losing sight over the bigger picture. We're not asking them to shut down, but we're being told that they need to relocate. And we're just asking for some brainstorming and some additional input, but we've had nothing but respect and admiration for years, for years. And again, if you read the policy, they're the only exception.
Can we hear from the lady in the turquoise shirt?
I'm Emma Ritchie. I want to talk about looking for a solution. I think the defensiveness is unnecessary.
You have to speak up.
Okay, so I just want to talk about solutions, and since it was brought up once again that we should be brainstorming about how to move forward, my understanding is that Willow Kiln is not a very viable site, and so we need to talk about other sites. And one of my questions is,
whether the parking lot on Binnewater Road is a possibility, and I'd like to hear from the farmers market organizers as to that question, as well as around the issue of the land. I know that use of that land has changed recently, so I don't know enough about the regulations to know whether there's any reason why that space couldn't be used for the same reason that there's an issue with the rec center.
I never considered that because I didn't think it would be something that the farmers market would be interested in. But I do have a promise to local bag land trust at this time for that property, so I would have to have a discussion with them.
So it would be depending on whether,
And also if anything would be temporary until this conversion issue is resolved 100% with the state.
so that's the other thing I don't totally understand, and that's just, I know there's a lot of
This
that.
is an ongoing issue, there's nothing
Yeah.
to do with the farmers market, it's just that it ties up all our properties
Right.
for possible exchange to be in compliance.
So let me just make sure I'm understanding. So if we were to use that property in the conversion process, then it would be excluded?
No, what
No.
I'm saying is, you're asking me about that property.
Yeah, like-
It's one of the possibilities for a conversion,
Right.
okay?
And if it were converted, would it?
You would not be able to be there anymore.
Okay, that's what I was trying to
And
understand.
this other property is the little,
The little- The
is the
Creek
Creek
Cross
Cross property.
Yeah.
But I think that one's large enough that probably a section could be separated, but I'd have to investigate that.
So one of the potential problems of if Binnewater were a good site theoretically for farmers market could be that in a couple years down the road, we could run into a similar problem.
And the other problem is that if the rail trail becomes extremely popular and very busy, they may want that whole parking lot, and that might be a problem.
Okay,
So
that was the information I wanted to know.
Yeah.
Is it Joe in the back?
Okay,
Joe, right?
yes, Joe Rodden.
Right on.
I get two facts. One thing I'm getting more confused the more I learn here. I got two main questions. The first question, can I give them both? And then you, this property here is under how many deeds and who owns it? The second question is, maybe the farmers market is just simply paying the wrong people, and they should be paying the Palisades Parkway to get parks, because that way then they would get revenue and they would all pay it. This could be very simple. It's just who's collecting the money, it seems like to me. Am I right or am I wrong?
You could be right and wrong.
Joe, your question about the number of deeds and who owns it, there's one deed in the town of Rosendale, we all own this. The whole root of the issue goes back to the way the land was acquired originally. It was acquired with federal funding, which the federal funding mandated that we had to fall under their guidelines. And we agreed to that back in the 70s. So this is a byproduct of that, but it is one property, one deed.
Okay, so where the buildings that the park that I'm under the impression that the part where the kids have the housing behind this building right now, the Palisades Parks transferred property from that, freed it up to the property back by the, on the other side of town. They stopped because they built the buildings illegally. And I remember I funded money and did some volunteer work to build those
You're
buildings.
talking about the youth center, right?
The youth center,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
That's not part of Palisades Park.
Yeah, it is. It's part of this property. That
I
was
thought
never-
we made a switch of property.
No.
Because at that time, that property, the Morelli Park, wound up being Palisades too, right?
Looking at Morelli Park.
Rudson? Rudson?
The one behind,
Rudson Youth Center,
on the
right,
other side
Rudson.
of the creek. That wound up being in Palisades Park, coming off the tax rolls, and this property here is supposed to have been freed up.
That swap never took place, Joe.
Never took place.
No, no.
So Palisades,
And going back to the youth center, when we all volunteered,
Right.
we built it, remember every Sunday we spent down there,
Yeah.
God knows how long? There was never an issue with Pal Park with regard to that because it's considered recreation. It
yeah, but
never
after it was
recreation
done, am I
opportunities.
right? After it was
No.
done, then
I think
Palisades.
you're probably referring to is when we built this new building, that there had to have been a land swap. Well, Bob Gallagher was supervisor at the time and started that process. Actually, Phil started the process. Bob continued the process, and we thought the process was concluded, but it ended up not being. that land swap was to allow the town to conduct business in this building, because, again, it took away from recreational opportunity. So Bob, correct me if I'm right, I think the original footprint included the footprint of this building and extended back toward the youth center?
Basically, it was a two-acre swap that went through the middle of this property to include the pavilion and to include the youth center. That was supposed to be swapped for property